What's up, guys? So I haven't done one of these videos in about 3 years, but we're back in Cedar Hill. I did a video 3 years ago, kind of looking around. It's an abandoned rail yard. There's a small portion that's still open, but basically here in North Haven, Connecticut, there was a major hump yard that belonged to the New Haven Railroad, that most of which was abandoned. So there's all kinds of tracks, buildings, switches, light towers, all kinds of stuff in here. So today I'm gonna be with one of my friends. We're gonna be looking around, seeing what we find, just kind of looking what we got for history. All right, so one thing to note, if you have seen my last video here, since then, that was about 3 years ago, there's been a tornado that came through here. So I believe from what I've heard, one of the actual big light towers fell, and I know some of the uprooted trees, the roots actually ripped some of the rail up. So it actually should be a little different than it was 3 years ago. So I'm not exactly sure what we're gonna expect today, but we're gonna find out as we go. All right, so we're a little bit down the trail, and it looks like we have our first view of some of the rail. You can see it actually looks like it's a little bit lifted up there. I'm gonna guess that's probably from those storms a few years ago. I don't remember it last time it being like that. So we can take a little walk in here. You can see there's quite a few tracks. I believe there's about 5 here. So now we're in a little bit more of a clearing. We got a track here. Looks like you can see it's a little more open, so you can kind of get a better view. It just runs into the bushes there. Then over here there's another one. This is getting kind of close. There's the active yard over there. You can see a train. It looks like a stone train getting ready to go south tonight. But you see it's a clearing. It's very peaceful here. We just saw a deer scamper off. There's 2 of them right over there. You could see, I mean, it really was just left as is when the Penn Central bought out the New Haven, and then just a few years after they went under, and it's just been left. All right, so here we got, it's a pole. It's hard to see, I know, with the lighting. Basically, I believe it was either like a light pole, a signal post, or like a I don't think it's a telephone pole, but I think it may have had some communication wires. You can see it's covered in graffiti now, but it's got the ladder going all the way up. So one of the interesting things about this point is, if I zoom in here, so if you see that weird shaped mountain off in the distance, that is Sleeping Giant State Park. And if you look at some of the trees closer, you can see they look screwed up. So Sleeping Giant was hit very hard with the tornado. That it's not completely considered a tornado because it didn't, apparently didn't touch down, but I mean it did all the damage a tornado would. And you could see through those trees that this was kind of the path it took, and now it makes sense. Right behind me is the rail yard that has a lot of damage from it. So this is like, it's a tunnel. There's popularly believed was most likely used as a way under the tracks, because up there would be kind of the most common track level. That's where most of them are. This one's below. There's actually another one above it. I might be able to hear the echo. My voice is echoing a little bit, but here's the other one. You can see it does go all the way through to the other side. I don't know what's in there. We're not going to go in there because who knows what might be living there. But this was most likely used as a way to get under the yard. Alright, so now we're above the tunnel. Here you can see the tracks. This is one of the first switches we find. You can see where this is where the track starts to separate. Like I said, this is a hump yard. What that means is basically it was built on a hill so that instead of a yard engine having to switch each car and build each train, at the top of the hill they're let go, and there's a braking system that basically stops the cars, and someone's just running all the switches to get them on the right track to build trains faster, which is a method that's actually still used in many modern freight yards. But what we're talking about here is there's quite a few switches because of it. So here's one of the first ones. The switch stand, it looks like, is right over here. So this is how it would be controlled. You can see it's obviously not in place anymore. It's not secured to the ground, but basically that bar would be moved back and forth, determining which track a train would go on. So here's another switch stand. You can see this one a little better. It's less in the weeds and stuff. But basically, again, this is how they would switch the tracks. You can kind of see the bar here that would run to the track. It's disconnected, and then here's kind of where it would come in, and this is where the switch would begin. So over here we have a hydrant. Most likely this thing was used because this yard was during the steam era, so water was a necessity. That's what steam locomotives use. They burn either coal, wood, or oil, and they burn it and convert oil into power. Steam, which powers the pistons and makes them run. So water was a necessity. So likely that's what this was for. It was probably used to fill up steam locomotives with water. So now we've come up on some pipes. Similar to what I was just saying about the hydrant, one could logically deduce that these probably carried water. That's probably how the hydrant would get water. Because like I said, that would be necessary for any kind of steam, and water in general in the yard, even when diesels were more predominant, would still be essential. So here's something a little unexpected. That's actually a pipe suspended in the air. Now, I don't think it was that high before the storms, but if you look, there are poles lined this way, and it's probably hard to see on here, but you can see there it's actually connected to the pole. So I believe this was probably, again, for transporting water to keep it throughout the yard, but it's an interesting technique to have it above all the track level. So upon further examination, they're actually really not poles. These things holding up the pipe are actually rail, which is interesting. I mean, how often do you see rail, you know, vertically up into the air like that? But that's what they chose to do. Let me see if I can get kind of a close-up of how it's connected. It does look, I think the lighting's really bad for this, unfortunately. It does look like it's been broken, and I assume, well, yeah, it's caught up in the tree over there due to the storms, but I think it was always originally in the air, which is cool. Oh, there's one of the others behind you. Yeah, here's one more look at it. Here's just a little bit more rail. I'm still not really seeing any dates or manufacturing places on them, but you could just kind of see it sticking up in the air. Oh, wait. This is 100-pound rail. I see OH, so it must be Ohio. Looks like 1913 is what it says if I move the grass here. That's pretty old. So like I mentioned earlier, this was a hump yard. So the cars would roll through and there was a system that stopped them. Well, this is kind of one of those mechanisms. What you could see is there's a spring mechanism. Basically, the weight of the train would be on the rail. It would push the spring down, which would compress this in, and that would then grab the side of the wheel, and that would be what causes it to slow down and stop. So you could see, this is the inside of the rail here. There's the other one. There's another one of those mechanisms there. This would be how they slow down trains and keep them from crashing when they did this locomotive-less switching method. That's a switch tower. Basically, that's where a lot of the controls that controlled all the switches would be, even though they could be manually done on the ground. It's definitely pretty dark in here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see on the camera, but this would have been the bottom. It's kind of some storage space. There's pieces of the switches, but I think you can't really see it. It's really dark in here, I know. Unfortunately, it's just dark, and it's getting dark out, so there's not much lighting. Back here, here's the ladder, how you'd get up to the top. Obviously, the floor is caving in up there. I'm not going to go in there, but I might be able to climb up the ladder and at least get you guys a view of what it looks like. So here's had a lot of damage even the last time I was here. That floor is pretty much completely caved in. The walls are gone. You can see the ceiling up there. There's not much left to this place. There's a piece of the ceiling right in front of us. But basically here's the height. Looking down, like I said, I'm still on the metal stairs. I'm not going any closer because I'll probably fall through the floor, but this is what the top looks like of the switch tower. Yeah, so like I said, we were actually here before. You'd never recognize it. It doesn't even feel like this is a trail anymore. It's crazy. It's actually a little bit scary because it's like you don't even know if you're on the trail or not, but I know there's one of the other light towers is this way. There are a few other cool things. So here's a smaller pipe, and then over here, it's a 50-gallon drum. Who knows what it was in there. So here we have some more ties, no rail, and then up there is one of the other towers. You can see it. So here's another one of these switch towers. This one looks like we got a little bit of a better view out. It's a little bit more cleared. We should be able to go on the bottom, although again you probably won't be able to see. You can see the ladder, the platform's right there, so that would be how you get up to that one. We're not going to go into this one, but you can see same way. It's really hollowed out in there. I'm sure the roof is caving in. It's covered in vines. It's in bad shape, but still standing. Yeah, so we're gonna go into this one in the bottom too. See it behind me. See what we can find. And I've already seen a bee, so yeah. Who knows what's living in here? I'm gonna be very careful. You can see the walls are currently now covered in graffiti, but this is the bottom. This is what it looked like. I mean, nothing's been changed except for the graffiti. You can see this one actually has, let me switch my camera around. This one's actually got vents. It looks like it had a heater, which is interesting because, I mean, it's still here. I mean, it's been a long time, but this was a heated room. You can see the electrical components here too. So this is why I don't want to go up this one because you can see it rocks quite a bit. The other one was much more fixed into the, wow, that was moving a lot. The other one was much more fixed into the ground. This one's a lot looser. That's why these things are kind of sketchy. I've seen other videos of people who actually try to go up in there, but that's really dangerous. I don't trust these anymore, so it's a lot better to look from the ground. But you can see that is how you would get up there. Alright, there we have a little bit of a hole. I was wondering if it was like a well or something, but it looks like it's not. It's some kind of foundation. Here's another shot. Here's another side of it. Again, I know the lighting is really tough right now. So here we have a telephone pole. It looks like it probably carried wires. I mean, there was electricity in that building, so it probably did carry electricity, but they also probably are communication wires of some kind.